SummerSlam early predictions. Now indeed it's a little bit to go until SummerSlam, but now 3 matches announced, which is quite good. They're certainly trying their very best to get that card out there. It's one of the big 4. They have to make sure that it's well promoted, that we know what the matches are, and not one of these scenarios where there are no matches announced with just weeks to go. So one of those matches that we saw announced was Kane versus Mysterio for the World Heavyweight Championship. That match made on SmackDown this week, and indeed Mysterio managed to get his #1 contender spot back, in a sense, after he defeated Swagger this past Friday night. And this is going to be... Is it going to be interesting? Well, Kane, he's now the man with the World Heavyweight Championship after cashing in that Money in the Bank. Hopes for this match? Well, I mean, Kane has had a new energy. I think he's had some good crowd response. Certainly this Friday night, the crowd were well into him, it seemed. I'm not sure if it was doctored audio, but the crowd seemed to like it. Now, what I couldn't understand, and I know this has been done before, but Kane cut a promo with this background music. Now, did he really need that?
Yeah, I think it's probably part of what they're trying to do with him. It's going to be interesting to see how long he holds on to the title. Some rumours out there that he's going to retire soon and it's his last run. And interesting to know that it's been quite some time since he's had a title of that kind of status. But I think it's a little bit fresh for the product in general, and definitely for SmackDown. I don't think anybody predicted Kane to win Money in the Bank and certainly cash it in straight away on the night. But yeah, it's a good thing for Kane, and I think he's still over with the peeps. But he's quite a boring old bastard at the same time, isn't he?
I've felt like that about Kane for quite some time now. In fact, I can't remember where I was really excited by a Kane storyline. Maybe we're going all the way back to Katie Couric and all that lark, but was that good? A lot of people say it wasn't. What else can I remember? Well, Kane taking on The Undertaker was something that I think sticks out in memory, and indeed his introduction to the territory was interesting, but after that he kind of flatlined a bit, didn't he? He just wasn't there in terms of character support.
Yeah, it was like the never-ending storyline. With Kane and Taker that time just went on and on and on forever. It was good at the start. I think he lost his persona big time when the mask came off. I think we've said this a couple of times, and from there, for me, it was all downhill and remained to be up until now. I'm still not the biggest fan of him, but I do appreciate he's a good worker, and you know, he seems like quite a nice guy. And obviously the Alphas are behind him, and you know, Vince said we'll give him the title one more time if he's going to retire, and let him go out on a high.
Indeed, maybe they finally have started listening to fans, because fans know Kane is going to be there. They're not getting rid of him anytime soon, it seems. So at the very least, you want to give the guy a push. You want to make sure that at least for a few weeks, maybe a few months, he has a belt. I mean, if you're trying to push him as a legitimate big red monster machine, you've got to make sure that he's legit in the eyes of the fans. And I think putting that World Heavyweight Championship on Kane was a good move. We will talk more about that later, as I think it's a big subject. But Mysterio is going to be taking him on at SummerSlam. Of course, they had to bring those big names out in time for that big pay-per-view, because Mysterio and Kane, very well known. I didn't really think I could see a Swagger versus Kane on a SummerSlam. It just didn't have that big marquee value to it, and I think really I'm looking at Kane possibly retaining. I wouldn't say these are our predictions quite yet, because a couple of weeks story still to go.
Yeah, I think Kane to retain would be good. I mean, it is clever from them to put Rey in the mix, being that kind of totally over babyface, and especially with the kids and whatnot, going up against the big red machine, the monster Kane. And yeah, I think they need a guy like Rey to make it an event, because Swagger Kane doesn't really smell of pay-per-view buys or a decent SummerSlam for that matter. But I suppose they have to make do with who's around, and yeah, Rey will probably get squashed, I can imagine.
This is it. Rey is supposedly out of favour with the office. He's had many injuries, and of course we've all heard about some other stories about Rey and indeed his problems with the company. And I think it was certainly a surprise when he got that World Heavyweight Championship, and indeed it looks like it was just a bit of a pass off. Give it to sort of a weaker babyface, one that they were happy to allow lose to Kane or to anyone. But Kane has come out of it with the belt, and I think if this doesn't give him a new energy and a new passion, then I don't think anything will. I wouldn't say he has held back in terms of working. I don't think he has perhaps been a kind of a weak competitor. He always works well, and I think he does put his all into it, but for some reason they've just neglected him and they've skipped over him. But let's hope that perhaps maybe he becomes a little bit more interesting now, maybe some storylines for him, perhaps some new moves in his repertoire. I can't even think what his finisher is.
Rey's?
Kane.
It's normally like that choke slam or the power bomb. I don't know, it's like the tombstone pile driver thing with Taker does as well, I think, isn't it? It's like both of those big man kind of moves.
That's it. I mean, I just couldn't think of what exactly it was that was special about Kane. I mean, moves, yeah, I mean, the choke slam, and, you know, those are Undertaker moves, aren't they? I mean, what else does he have, I suppose? But, you know, I'm just going to watch him closer, and it would be nice now to have these few weeks of TV and put him in some matches and allow him to be really strong. I mean, let's hope that's the way it goes, because if you're going to make him semi-main event on SummerSlam, maybe that's what it's going to be with the SmackDown brand and the World Heavyweight Championship. So we will have to wait and see. Of course, the other match that is taking place will be, so far at least, Randy Orton taking on Sheamus. Now, Sheamus, of course, with that WWE Championship after Nexus prevented John Cena from landing on the ground. And indeed, Sheamus came out with the belt yet again. But what it brought up for me was this question of, when are they going to let Sheamus cleanly win against Cena, or do you think they ever will?
Yeah, I think it's good the way he's kind of like that. He gets those cheeky wins, and it's the old school kind of heel mentality. And I think especially with, it just works with his kind of gimmick. I can't really put into words why so, but it does. But I think Orton's so over, especially after Money in the Bank. I mean, the pops, and on Raw this week, and the Raw previous, from that RKO on Evan Bourne into Money in the Bank, which obviously was great for him. And then Raw, again, was terrific with the 2 RKOs and him coming out on top. He's so over at this stage, I think it would be foolish for them not to put the title on him at SummerSlam. It's the big one, and if it closes the show with Orton and Sheamus and him going over, Orton that is, and taking the title, you know, people will be going home happy, and I think it'll be cool for him, yeah.
Yeah, now that you mention it, and I hadn't even thought that far ahead, but Randy Orton coming out on top on a SummerSlam, what a way to cement a guy as a top babyface. And indeed, he's even smiling now, standing up on the turnbuckle at the end of that incredible triple threat match at the start of Raw. That, of course, partly meant to be the main event, but kind of moved a bit around on the card. We're going to talk more about that incredible Raw. Incredible in today's standards, I think, later on in the show. You can catch it here on YouTube, or if you're with us live on Justin, thank you for joining us. So, Orton and Sheamus, my thoughts on that? Well, like you say, I think Orton is probably going to be the man on top. Is he going to take that belt? Again, like they handed the belt to Mysterio for it to get to Kane, perhaps that's the situation there. They've given it to Sheamus because they don't want Orton to beat Cena. I mean, who do they want to beat Cena? It doesn't seem like anybody. But Orton v Sheamus, I think that's going to be good, and I think it's going to be worthy of a main event position. It certainly, you know, was a good thing for Sheamus when he main evented that Royal Rumble, and a bit of a cop-out finish. What will be the finish to this one? It will be interesting.